Hello beautiful people, it's Mai here from Nintendo Life, and today we're reviewing Dragon Quest VII Reimagined on the Nintendo Switch 2. This review was originally written by the lovely Mitch Vogel and made into a video by me. Now without further ado, let's get stuck in. Ready to feel old? Well, it's been about 13 years since the launch of the 3DS remake of Dragon Quest VII, which itself was released about 13 years ago after the original on the PSX. That means that it's time for yet another remake of the storied classic, which has been dubbed Dragon Quest VII Reimagined this time around. This iteration goes a bit farther than its 3DS predecessor in making various nips and tucks that update the game for a new generation. And we're pleased to report that this feels like the most enjoyable version of Dragon Quest VII yet. The narrative places you in the role of a quiet boy living a peaceful life who believes there's more to the world beyond his small island home. He's joined in this belief by the adventurous Prince Kiefer and the mayor's daughter Maribel, and it isn't long until this band of kids discover a mysterious shrine in which ancient stone tablets allow them to travel to various places in the past. The plot then takes an almost anthological approach where you and your party jump back in time in various islands and play out small and largely self-contained subplots on each one, such as saving a town that's been overrun by robots or uncovering the mystery of a village in which everyone has been turned into animals. After resolving the conflict for that island, it magically reappears in the ocean in the present, and you can visit to see how your actions led to a changed future. It's not a very character-driven plot like you may find in a grander adventure like Xenoblade, but what the story lacks in deep characterization, it more than makes up for its coziness. Despite some occasionally dark themes, this is the sort of light, airy and chipper experience that keeps you invested due to how consistently it maintains its positive atmosphere. As you work through these cute and uplifting stories of friendship and courage, you feel more connected to the places you're uncovering, which leads to a much more emotional experience later on when the story starts to come together into one coherent strand. One of the main selling points of this reimagining is the streamlining of content, and while we're sure this may be divisive among some fans, we'd say the changes made here were largely for the better. The original game was infamously bloated, most notably with it taking around 2 hours for the start of the game before you even enter your first combat scenario, and this reimagining has cut out a lot of the extraneous dialogue and backtracking that added so much padding. Fortunately, these cuts were made tastefully and led to an overall tighter game. What's lost in raw detail and content is made up for by an adventure that moves where the original tended to drag. World exploration also tends to proceed at a thrilling pace, mostly due to the elimination of random battles that's carried over in the 3DS remake. Rather than getting jumped every few steps, enemies now roam the map freely and can be deftly avoided if you'd rather just pass through an area. If the level is far enough below yours, they'll even run away from you, and swiping with your sword will net you the rewards you'd get from the battle without the hassle of jumping into a combat screen. Couple this with the nice quality of life features like fast travel and the nose for treasure skill, and it's never been easier for completionists to rinse each area of every hidden chest and mini-medal. When you happen to come across a foe who's closer to your level though, battles follow the same bog-standard turn-based combat the franchise has always been known for, with you utilising an active party of up to 4 members to bash in some slimes. Though the simple approach may feel a bit quaint compared to more mechanically advanced combat systems, like the boost break system in Octopath Traveler or the press turn system in Shinigami Tensei, that doesn't mean that it isn't still engaging. Each character gradually amasses a swath of diverse skills and spells to bolster their role in the fight, and if you don't want to get caught up with navigating all the menus, there are a variety of competent auto-battle macros you can set that do a great job handling just about any trash mob battles. Similar to the pet powers of Dragon Quest XI, party members can now occasionally get worked up after they've dealt and received enough damage. These powerful short-term buffs are connected to the character's vocation, more on that in a bit, and can do things like block all damage for a turn or significantly increase damage output. They aren't necessarily an instant win button, but triggering one can certainly turn the tide of a battle that's slowly getting away from you. We also appreciate how they're randomly triggered in the majority of cases, which keeps them from being an easy crutch to lean on and ensures they act more of a nice X factor that can suddenly mix up a battle. Vocations are the class system used in Dragon Quest VII, and they follow the progression for the standard job system. Each one is leveled separately from the character it's equipped to, and that character unlocks newer skills and abilities as they move up in vocation ranks. As you progress through the world and explore, you slowly unlock more vocations, the more powerful of which require a character to master some prerequisite vocations before granting them access to the powerful stat buffs and abilities they come with. For this remake, vocations have also gotten a nice freshening up to make them more compelling. Not only are there new vocations added, but you can now unlock the ability to moonlight, which means you can add a second vocation to a character to further alter their stats and available abilities. It doesn't quite match the heights of the cross-classing madness found in Bravely Default or Octopath Traveler games, but it is another step in that direction and makes party building a much more interesting endeavour as you explore different builds and skill mixes. In a massive step from the pixel art graphics of the original and the somewhat chunky models of the 3DS remake, the visuals have been updated to reflect a more photorealistic toy-like atmosphere. Square actually made small handmade dolls of the various party members and scanned them in for extra detail. And every frame looks as if you're viewing a carefully crafted diorama. This looks especially great on Switch 2, where an unbroken 60 FPS and at least 1080p resolution present everything with sharp detail and smooth motion. We'd go as far to say that this is the best looking Dragon Quest game Square Enix has ever produced, surpassing its previous efforts in the original release of Dragon Quest XI via its seamless blend of photorealism with Akira Toriyama's cartoonish art style. The soundtrack also got a makeover here, with all the music being re-recorded and treated with new orchestral arrangements that capture the essence of the original while introducing some new elements. These arrangements all perfectly reflect the whimsical and adventurous spirit that the Dragon Quest franchise is known for, keeping the atmosphere playful while occasionally taking things into a more serious realm. So in conclusion, Dragon Quest VII Reimagined proves to be a strong revisit of a classic, trimming the fat and including welcome additions to make for a magical experience that no fan of classic JRPGs will want to miss. Though we're hesitant to call this the definitive version of the game, given the content cuts, we would certainly say it's the most fun version yet. Combine the more engaging pace of the narrative with some nice gameplay updates like moonlighting and those gorgeous visuals, and it's tough to argue that the previous versions are more enjoyable. At any rate, we'd highly suggest you pick this up if you're looking for another high-quality, old-school JRPG for your collection. Dragon Quest VII Reimagined might not be all that innovative, but it absolutely nails its gameplay and aesthetics. We here at Nintendo Life give Dragon Quest VII Reimagined on the Switch 2 a whopping 9 out of 10. Okay, it's that time again. It's time for my thoughts. So as a certified lover of JRPGs, I am a little bit ashamed to admit that this is actually my first proper Dragon Quest game, unless you want to include Dragon Quest Builders, but when it comes to the mainline games, this is definitely my first. Like, I'm not quite sure why I never picked up a Dragon Quest game before, but it's probably the very likely age-old excuse of no money and no time. But to be honest, I was really excited to make Dragon Quest VII Reimagined my first. And in all honesty, it kind of felt like I was kind of stepping back into some really cozy slippers. Like, I'm no stranger to cozy games, so having something as aesthetically pleasing and mechanically pleasing was really nice for me. And I'm not saying that this is a cozy game per se, but perhaps a JRPG for cozy gamers. Now, don't get me wrong, I do love JRPGs that have darker themes and dramatic storylines, but I don't know, something about DQ7 Reimagined made me feel like it was more of a JRPG for beginners, but I'm also not complaining about that. Before making this video, I initially played the demo, and I couldn't help but make comparisons to Ni no Kuni with its beautiful art style and the kind of semi-free roam, less restrictive overworld. On that note, aside from the modernization and quality of life improvements, DQ7 didn't really change much to the formula in regards to like a run-of-the-mill JRPG for me, but I suppose when it comes to a remake or remaster, why fix something that ain't broke, right? Other parts I did really enjoy about the game was not just the diorama style or the toy-like art style of the game, but I really fell in love with the wonderful voice acting and the accents on each island. I was not expecting to hear any sort of an Italian-esque or like a northern style accent at all. They're no Mr. Drippy, but you know, it was still really nice and pleasant to hear nonetheless. And also, although we reviewed the Switch 2 version of Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, you'll be happy to learn that it's also on Switch 1, so you OG Switch owners will not be missed out. As a bit of a final note for avid Dragon Quest fans ready to dive back in just for nostalgia's sake, I would definitely say this is for you, and for newbies who are new to the mainline games, just like me, I think you're going to be in for some fun, but don't expect anything too groundbreaking if you're a bit of a JRPG fanatic already. Something to note is that as much as I would have loved to have played more of the game, I somehow couldn't progress past a certain point. I don't know if it's just me losing track or it's a bug in the game, but for some reason I couldn't for the life of me find a specific tile needed to head to the island after Larka. I searched every island I'd visited, checked through the 3DS walkthrough of Dragon Quest VII, combed through the volcano it was supposed to be, and even chatted to the lovely chap at the shrine who gives you tips on how to find the tablet parts. Mitch didn't seem to have an issue with this whilst reviewing the game, but just something to be aware of when you do play. Saying that, knowing my luck, when I finish this video, I'll probably go back in and it'll be all hunky-dory.